Okay, there is a prerequisite for this video, and that's that you know how to count. So you also know both number systems, and you need to know how to count things. So how not just to say the number 5, but how to say 5 years or 5 people, like that. And if you don't know those yet, well, you're definitely not making the mistake that I'm going to talk about in this video. Now, I have some lessons about how to count as well as how to use counters, which I will link in the description below in case that's you. And while there are a ton of common mistakes that are made related to numbers, for example, 16 for 16 is actually pronounced as 16. Another one is also that the months for June, so the month 6, as well as the month 10, so October, are actually 6월 and 10월. So not 6 or 10, but 6월 and 10월. But even more common than these mistakes, I would say, is misusing counters, which is what we're going to talk about. But first of all, I want to say thanks to my Patreon supporters and channel members out there who are supporting me to make more videos, as well as allowing me to not have to take on sponsors. So extra thanks to you. And if you're interested in supporting me as well, I will have links to how you can do that in the description below. So what am I talking about here with counters? Well, let me give you an example. Let's count 3 monkeys. So first, try it on your own. How do you say there are 3 monkeys? Just think about it. So first we're gonna say what it is that we're counting. So we have monkey, 원숭이, and then we're going to need a counter. And the counter for animals is 마리, which is used with pure Korean numbers. So we're gonna say 3, so 세 마리. And then we finish the sentence, 가 있어요. So there are 원숭이 세 마리가 있어요. So there are 3 monkeys. In fact, this is one of the first major mistakes that I commonly see when people are using counters, is overusing the subject marker. So we have 원숭이 세 마리가 있어요, or you could have moved this over here and said 원숭이가 세 마리 있어요. So you can either put the subject marker after the noun that you're using, or you can put it after the counter, and they're both correct. But what I often find is sentences that look like this. 원숭이가 세 마리가 있어요. So 2 subject markers when you only need to use 1. In fact, if you want to use more markers, feel free, just switch it up a bit. So you could say 원숭이도, so also monkeys, 세 마리가 있어요. That's fine. There are also 3 monkeys as well as other animals. But just be careful about not overusing the subject marker. But it also applies to the object marker too. For example, how would you say, I bought 5 books? Think about it for a second. So first we need the word book, which is 책. Then we're going to need the counter, so we want to say 5 books, while the counter for books is 권. And 5, well, this counter uses a pure Korean number, so 5 is 다섯. So 책 5권. Then we finish the sentence, the object marker, and then to buy, 사다. So here, 샀어요. 책 5권을 샀어요. So I bought 5 books. But just like before, you could have also written 책을 5권 샀어요. But what you don't want to do is say 책을 5권을 샀어요, because it sounds repetitive. It sounds a bit awkward. And the reason is that when you add particles or even just words that aren't necessary in your sentence, it makes it sound repetitive and unnatural, and in some cases a bit awkward. Okay, with that in mind, see if you can guess the reason for this next common mistake. 사람 5명을 만났어요. So I met, 만났어요. 사람, people, 명 is the counter for people, 5명, 5 people. So I met 5 people. The same structure as before. I've made sure only to add 1 object marker here, but I'm letting you know that this sentence can sound a bit awkward. Can you guess why? The reason is the counter 명 is for people. So when you say 5명, you're counting people. And here we have 사람, but because 명 is already used for people, it sounds a bit unnecessary to add 사람 here. So you actually don't need this word at all. You can just say 5명을 만났어요. and it'll be perfectly clear that you met people since this is the person counter. Okay, but you might say, of course, Billy, I already knew that. I learned that when I learned this counter in the first place. What if I told you the other examples could also work in the same way? In our example before with monkey, well, adding the word 원숭이 is fine. And the reason for that is because mari is any animal counter. So adding the word monkey here just makes it specific that we're talking about how many monkeys there are. However, it still could be repetitive if this sentence doesn't come out of the blue, and it probably wouldn't. For example, what if someone was asking you how many monkeys there are? Would you reply with this sentence, or would you remove monkey from it? It would be better to remove and okay to remove monkey from it because you already know what you're talking about. So if someone says, oh, how many monkeys are there? You can just reply, 세 마리가 있어요. Saying, 원숭이 세 마리가 있어요 would sound a bit repetitive, just like it might in English. Hey, how many monkeys are there? There are 3 monkeys. Swiper, no swiping. You know what I'm getting at. In the other example though, 책 5권을 샀어요. 권 is the actual counter for books. So you don't need to say 책 because you already said it here. So 5권을 샀어요 means I bought 5 books. However, that doesn't mean you wouldn't ever put anything here. What if you wanted to specify what kind of book that you bought? Let's say you're buying some history books, 역사 책, then you would want to add it in to specify what kind you bought. But again, if the context of your conversation already includes the word history book, you probably don't need to say it again when you give this whole sentence. For example, if you meet your friend after going to the bookstore and they ask, what did you buy? Well then, yeah, you could say, 역사책 5권을 샀어요. I bought 5 history books. That's a lot of history books, but you could say it. However, if your friend says, oh, you went to the bookstore, what did you buy? 역사책을 샀어요. I bought a history book. Then they might ask, how many? Then you could just reply, 5권을 샀어요, like that. In fact, the same goes for all counters. Whenever it's clear what you're counting, whether that's due to the counter itself or due to the context, then don't repeat the noun that you're counting. For example, if your friend asks you, how many cheese wheels did you buy? Well, you wouldn't need to repeat cheese wheel. You can simply use the counter 개, which is just a general object counter, and say, 2개를 샀어요. I bought 2. Or maybe, 3개를 먹었어요. I ate 3. So again, in summary, try to avoid repetition. And I see this mistake often, so I hope that it can help someone. Thank you again to my Patreon supporters and channel members for sponsoring this channel. I really do appreciate it. I couldn't make these videos without your help. And if you're also interested in supporting this channel, supporting me, I have links in the description box below for how you can do that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in another episode. 그럼 다음에 또 봐!